Your mother tells you to be realistic. Your spouse rolls their eyes when you talk about manifestation. Your friend's success makes you feel like a failure. And you've been told to cut these toxic people out of your life, to protect your energy, to stay away from the doubters. But what if I told you that every single one of those people blocking your manifestation doesn't actually exist? What if I told you that your doubting mother, your skeptical spouse, that friend whose success triggers you, they're not real. They never were. Now, I know what you're thinking. Neville, I can see them. I can hear them. They say these things to me every single day. How can they not be real? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you will sound absolutely insane. But if you can accept it, if you can truly understand what I discovered after manifesting everything from an impossible trip to Barbados with no money to a discharge from the army when my commanding officer had already denied me, you will never feel blocked by another person again. There are 6 types of people in your world right now who appear to be blocking your manifestation. 6 people standing between you and your desire. And by the end of this, you're going to discover that not only are they not blocking you, they don't even exist outside of your own consciousness. Let me introduce you to the 6 people who are blocking your manifestation. Or rather, let me introduce you to yourself. Person 1, the dream killer. The first person is the dream killer. You know this person. The moment you share your desire, the moment you express your dream, they immediately tell you why it won't work. That's not realistic. People like us don't do things like that. You need to be practical. What makes you think you could do that? Now, this person isn't necessarily cruel. Often, they believe they're protecting you. They don't want to see you disappointed. They don't want to watch you fail. And so they kill your dream before it can hurt you. Let me tell you about the year 1933. Roosevelt had just been elected. I had been in America for 11 years, and I never really wanted to go back to Barbados. My parents came up that year, and they pleaded with me to come to Barbados and join the family, become a member of the family. And I declined. I said no. I saw them off at the boat, and strangely enough, as they sailed, and they were on the deck, and I waved goodbye to them, a peculiar feeling came over me. A desire I had never had in 11 years. I suddenly wanted to go to Barbados. But here's the problem. This was during the Great Depression. There were 17.5 million unemployed in America. I was numbered among them. I was living in a basement on 75th Street with no money. I couldn't even afford the nickel fare to get to the Bronx. I had no ticket. I had no logical way of getting there. By all external measures, I could not go to Barbados. But here's what the dream killer never understands. Your imagination is not bound by facts. Your imagination creates facts. But when you listen to the dream killer, when you accept their version of reality as more real than your imagined reality, you give them power. You make their words your truth. And your manifestation dies, not because it couldn't happen, but because you agreed with them that it couldn't. The dream killer will always have evidence. They will always have logic. They will always have examples of others who tried and failed. And if you accept their consciousness as more authoritative than your own, you will fail too. But I went to my teacher, Abdullah. And when I told him about this strange desire to go to Barbados, do you know what he said? He said, you are in Barbados. Not you will be, not you can be. You are in Barbados. And he would not discuss the means. He would not discuss the money. He would not discuss how. He simply said, if you are in Barbados, you cannot discuss the means of getting to Barbados. You must actually live in Barbados in your imagination. Person 2, the energy vampire. The second person is the energy vampire. This is the person who is always in crisis, always in drama, always needing your help, your advice, your emotional support. And you want to be a good person. You want to be kind. You want to help. So you listen. You give. You try to fix their problems. And when you finally sit down to do your imaginal work, to enter into your wish fulfilled, you're exhausted. You're drained. You have nothing left. Now, let me tell you something that may shock you. When Abdullah was teaching me, there were times when I would come to him full of doubt, full of questions, full of reasons why what he taught me wasn't working. And do you know what he did? He closed the door in my face. Late November came, And I said to him, Ab, I am no nearer Barbados. He said, you are in Barbados. Then he turned his back on me, walked towards his bedroom, and slammed the door, which was not an invitation to follow him. If you understood, he was teaching me a lesson, the lesson of faith. You see, if he had engaged with my doubt, if he had sympathized with my complaints, if he had tried to convince me it would work, he would have been feeding my state of lack. He would have been confirming that I was separate from what I desired. Instead, he refused to see me as anything other than what I claimed to be. He refused to enter my drama. He refused to drain his energy trying to prop up my doubt. The energy vampire doesn't want a solution. They want confirmation that life is hard, that they are victims, that things are being done to them. And the moment you engage with them from that state, you descend to where they are. And while you're down there with them, you cannot manifest your own desires because you have accepted their consciousness as real. Abdullah taught me, do not engage with those who refuse to claim their power. Do not waste your creative energy trying to convince someone who is committed to their limitation, because consciousness is contagious and you must guard yours jealously. Person 3, the skeptic in your bed. The third person is perhaps the most painful. The skeptic in your bed. This is your spouse, your partner, the person you share your life with, who does not believe what you believe. Every time you talk about manifestation, they make a joke. Every time you're excited about a technique you learned, they tell you it's pseudoscience. Every time something begins to move in your favor, they attribute it to coincidence or luck, never to your consciousness. And this hurts, doesn't it? Because you want them to understand. You want them to see what you see. You want them to believe with you, to imagine with you, to create with you. So you try to convince them. You show them examples. You explain the law. And the more you try to convince them, the more skeptical they become. The more you push, the more they resist. And eventually, you start to doubt yourself. You think, if my own partner doesn't believe this, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe I'm being foolish. Maybe I'm deluding myself. And in that moment, you have abandoned your own consciousness for theirs. You have made their doubt more real than your knowing, and your manifestation crumbles. Now, when I was in the army, I wanted out. I was 38 years old. My son was a Marine in Guadalcanal. My wife and infant daughter were in New York City, and I wanted to be with them, honorably discharged. I applied for discharge. My captain said, for your sake, Goddard, I am very, very sorry. I know exactly how you feel. You want to be with your wife and little girl, but I would like to go through this war with a man just like you at my side. Then my colonel, Theodore Bilbo Jr., signed my application, disapproved. There was no appeal beyond my battalion commander. That was final. Now, I could have accepted his decision. I could have agreed with the authority figure. I could have believed that his no was more powerful than my imagination. But I didn't. Your partner's skepticism is not actually blocking you. Your reaction to their skepticism is blocking you. Your need for their approval, your doubt in your own knowing, your wavering between faith and fear, that is what's blocking you. The skeptic in your bed is showing you where you still need permission, where you still believe someone else's consciousness is more real than yours, where you still bow to external authority instead of claiming your own power. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. Neville, this all makes sense. But when I try to change my conception of these people, when I try to feel it real, it feels fake. It feels forced, like I'm lying to myself. And that's exactly where most people get stuck. They try to force the feeling instead of allowing it to naturally emerge. I want to give you something that will help with this. It's called the Manifest Reset. 5 simple, gentle shifts that help you stop forcing the feeling and naturally align with the state of the wish fulfilled. These aren't complex techniques. They're practical resets. You can use the moment you feel disconnected from your desired state. Reset number 1 shows you why feeling fake is actually a sign you're on the right track. Reset number 3, letting go doesn't mean giving up, has helped thousands understand that detachment isn't abandonment. Reset number 5, return to the axis. This alone has helped people find their way back when they've fallen out of the state. If you want these 5 resets that make living from the end feel natural instead of forced, simply comment reset below and you'll receive them for free. These are based on my teachings, refined to help you when you feel stuck. Comment reset right now, and let's remove that struggle. Now let me continue with the 4th person who appears to be blocking you. Person 4, the well-meaning worrier. The 4th person is the well-meaning worrier. This is usually a parent, a close friend, someone who loves you deeply and cannot bear the thought of you being hurt. What if it doesn't work out? What's your backup plan? I just don't want you to be disappointed. I'm only thinking of your best interest. And they are. They genuinely believe they're protecting you. But what they're actually doing is projecting fear onto your dream. They're imagining the worst possible outcome and asking you to prepare for it. They're making lack and limitation more real than fulfillment. And because you love them, because you respect them, because you don't want them to worry, you start to entertain their fears. You start to imagine the backup plan. You start to protect yourself from disappointment. You start to hedge your bets. And the moment you do that, you are no longer living in the end. You are living in doubt. You are serving 2 masters. And as Scripture says, no man can serve 2 masters. When I was sleeping in Barbados in my imagination, viewing New York City as 2,000 miles to the northwest, I did not have a backup plan. I did not hedge my bets. I did not say, well, if this doesn't work, I'll try something else. I simply lived in Barbados in my imagination. I slept in my mother's home. I heard the tropical noises. I saw the sun go down rapidly from a red ball to a green ball, as it does in the tropics. I felt the entire atmosphere of being home. And when late November came, and I said to Abdullah, Ab, I am no nearer Barbados, he did not say, well, let's make a backup plan. He did not say, maybe we should try something else. He said, you are in Barbados, and he closed the door. The well-meaning warrior must be loved, but they must not be obeyed. Their fears are not your truth unless you make them so. And when you persist in your assumption despite their worry, despite their fear, despite their well-meaning concern, you show them something far more valuable than compliance. You show them faith. Person 5, the success story that triggers you. The 5th person is the one you compare yourself to. The success story that triggers you. This is the person who has what you want, who achieve what you're trying to achieve, who seems to manifest effortlessly while you struggle. And every time you see them, every time you hear about their latest achievement, something twists inside you. Maybe it's envy. Maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's that feeling of why them and not me? What do they have that I don't have? You tell yourself you're happy for them. You congratulate them. But underneath, you feel lack. You feel behind. You feel like you're failing in comparison. And that feeling, that sense of separation between where they are and where you are, that is what blocks you. Because you are making them separate from you. You are making their success mean your failure. You are creating a reality where there is not enough for everyone. Let me tell you something. Every time you feel envy, every time you feel triggered by another success, you are affirming your own lack. You are saying they have it and I do not. And that statement, that assumption becomes your reality. When I returned from Barbados after that impossible trip, a trip that cost my family well over $1,000 when $1,000 was worth $3,000 or $4,000 today, did I feel envious of those who had always had money? Did I feel less than because I had been unemployed and penniless? No, because I had proven to myself that consciousness is the only reality. I had proven that imagination creates reality. I had proven that a man with no money and no means can cross 2,000 miles of ocean and spend 3 glorious months with his family, simply by assuming he already had what he desired. The person who triggers you is not blocking you. They're showing you where you still believe in separation. They're showing you where you still believe that someone else's gain is your loss. They're showing you where you have not yet accepted that consciousness is the only reality and you can assume anything you want, regardless of what anyone else has or doesn't have. There is no competition in consciousness. There is no limited supply. there is only assumption. And when you truly understand this, that person's success becomes irrelevant to yours. You can be genuinely happy for them because their having does not prevent your having. In fact, their success should encourage you because if they can manifest it, so can you. If it exists in their world, it can exist in yours. The only difference is assumption. Person 6. The person who knew you before, the sixth person, is the person who knew you before. This is the person who remembers your failures, who witnessed your struggles, who saw you at your lowest point, and who, with every interaction, reminds you of who you used to be. Remember when you tried that and it failed? You've always been this way. I remember when you couldn't even pay your rent. They don't necessarily say these things to hurt you. Often they're just remembering. They're just being familiar. But their memory becomes a prism. Their version of you becomes the version you accept. And the most dangerous thing is this. You start to believe that because they knew you before, they know you better than you know yourself. You give their past version of you more reality than your present imagination of yourself. When I went to Barbados that Christmas of 1933, I was a strict vegetarian. I had not eaten one piece of meat or fish or fowl in 7 years. No smoking, no alcohol, no sex. I was disillusioned in my first marriage, and I had become completely celibate. My family knew me as that person, the spiritual seeker, the vegetarian, the celibate. And in Barbados, I was the same being that I was when I arrived, to the annoyance of my family. Here they were, a family that made all their money in groceries, selling meat, fish, alcohol, everything. And here I was, enjoying a trip based upon their efforts, yet not taking what they were offering. But Abdullah had told me before I left, you know, Neville, when you return from Barbados, you will have died. He never explained what he meant. But on my way north, on that ship coming back to New York, I did everything I had not done in 7 years. Everything. The old Neville died, and the person who knew me before would no longer recognize the person I had become. You see, the person who knew you before is not actually blocking you. You are blocking yourself by caring more about their memory than your imagination. You are choosing their version of reality over yours. Every day, every moment, you are becoming someone new. The you of yesterday is dead. The you of last year is dead. The you that failed, that struggled, that was limited, that person is dead. And the only reason they seem to still exist is because you keep resurrecting them. You keep identifying with them. You keep accepting the old story as more real than your new assumption. The person who knew you before must meet the you that you are now. And if they cannot accept the new you, if they insist on relating to the old you, then you must be willing to let them go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with the understanding that you have died to that old state and been reborn into a new one. The twist, they don't exist. Now, I've described 6 people to you. And as I've been speaking, you've been thinking of specific individuals in your life, haven't you? You've been nodding along, saying, yes, that's my mother, or that's exactly my partner, or that's my old friend. But here's what I need you to understand. Here's the truth that will set you free. Those 6 people do not exist. Let me say that again. Those 6 people you've been blaming, those 6 people you've been trying to avoid or fix or convince or escape, they do not exist. There is no dream killer. There is no energy vampire. There is no skeptic. There is no worrier. There is no success story. There is no person from your past. There is only you. There is only your consciousness. There is only your assumption of who they are. Every person in your world is you pushed out. Every person is a mirror showing you your own consciousness. The dream killer is showing you where you don't believe your dream is possible. The energy vampire is showing you where you feel drained and depleted. The skeptic is showing you where you doubt yourself. The warrior is showing you where you are afraid. The success story is showing you where you believe in lack. The person from your past is showing you where you still identify with your old story. They are not separate beings with their own power to block you. They are reflections. They are shadows on the wall cast by the light of your own consciousness. And here's the truly miraculous part. The moment you change your conception of them, they must change. Not because you're controlling them, not because you're manipulating them, but because they were never what you thought they were in the first place. When my brother Victor sent that letter with the $50 draft, justifying it by saying the family had never been together for Christmas, he thought it was his idea. He thought he initiated the trip. But I knew better. I knew that I'd called it forth by sleeping in Barbados, by assuming I was there, by living in that state, when Colonel Bilbo called me into his office 9 days after denying my discharge and honorably discharged me. He thought he made that decision. But I knew better. I knew that at 4:15 in the morning, I had seen a hand scratch out his disapproved and write approved. I knew that my assumption had hardened into fact. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is law. This is the way consciousness works. The solution. How to change them. So what do? How do you change these 6 people? First, you must stop reacting to them. Stop defending yourself. Stop trying to convince them. Stop feeling hurt by their words. Because the moment you react, you are making them real. You are making them separate from you. You are giving them power they never actually had. Second, you must revise. Think of a recent interaction where this person blocked you, doubted you, hurt you. Now reimagine that interaction. See it happening differently. Hear them saying words of encouragement instead of discouragement. Feel their support instead of their skepticism. Let me share a documented case that proves this principle. During one of my lectures in San Francisco, before an audience of approximately 1,000 people, a lady stood up and said, "My brother is in the army. I do not know what he did, but I know that he has been court-martialed and sentenced to 6 months of hard labor. Neville, if I believe you, can I not set my brother free?" I said, "Yes, but only to the degree that you are self-persuaded that he is free." 1 week later, this same lady stood up and told her story. "Believing you last week, when I returned home to my second-floor apartment, I sat in my living room and imagined I heard the doorbell. Then I ran down the stairs, opened the front door, and threw my arms around my brother. I rehearsed that scene over and over again until I could hear the doorbell ring, feel the banister in my right hand, and my feet moving down the stairs. The doorknob became solidly real in my hand, and I could see, touch, and feel my brother's presence." She concluded, "Last Wednesday evening, as I was dwelling upon my brother's return, the doorbell rang, and I instantly knew it was he. I ran down the stairs, opened the door, and there was my brother. He told me that the army had reviewed his case and changed their judgment, setting him free with an honorable discharge. She didn't change her brother. She changed her conception of her brother, and the moment she did, he had to conform to her new assumption. Third, you must assume they are as you want them to be, not as you hope they will become, not as you wish they could be, as they are right now in your imagination. If you want your mother to support your dreams, assume she does. When you think of her as supportive. When you speak to her, speak to the supportive version of her, not the version that kills dreams. If you want your partner to believe in manifestation, assume they do. Don't wait for evidence. Don't look for signs that they're changing. Just persist in the assumption that they understand, they believe, they support you fully. Fourth, test it. Choose one person from the 6, just one. And tonight, before you sleep, imagine a conversation with them where they are being exactly as you want them to be. Hear their words. Feel their energy. Make it real in your imagination. Then let it go. Don't watch for changes. Don't test them the next day. Don't look for evidence. Just persist in your assumption. And watch what happens. Watch how they begin to conform to your new conception of them. Not because you forced them, not because you convinced them, but because they were always nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. You are not a victim of the people in your world. You are the creator of them. Every person you meet, every person you know, every person who seems to block you or support you, they are all reflections of your own consciousness. And this truth, while it may seem like a burden at first, is actually the most liberating thing you will ever hear. Because if they are you pushed out, then you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not at the mercy of toxic people or skeptical partners or worried parents or successful friends or people who knew you before. You are the operant power. You are the creator. You are God in your own world. And the moment you accept this, the moment you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, everything changes. Those 6 people who are blocking you, they disappear. Not because they leave your life, but because you see them differently. You create them differently. And they have no choice but to reflect your new consciousness. So tonight, choose one person, just one. Revise one interaction. Assume one new reality. And test this law for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't take my word for it. Test it. Prove it. Make it real in your own experience. Because this is not a theory. This is not a philosophy. This is the law. And the law never fails. There is no one blocking you. There never was. There is only you. There has only ever been you. And you are free. Now, before I leave you today, I want to make sure you have the practical tools to apply what I've taught you. If you haven't already commented, reset to receive the Manifest Reset Guide. Do it now. These 5 simple shifts will transform your relationship with manifestation, from struggle to flow, from forcing to allowing, from seeking to having. Comment reset below and you'll receive it immediately. These resets are designed for the moments when you feel disconnected, when you're trying too hard, when it all feels fake. They'll guide your inner system gently but powerfully back to what I call the state of the wish fulfilled. Comment reset right now. And if you want to go even deeper into understanding what it truly means to live from the end, there's something critical you need to know. There are 5 specific things you will never do when you're truly living from the end. 5 behaviors that become impossible when you genuinely assume the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Most people think they're living from the end, but they're still doing these 5 things, and that's why their manifestations never come. That video is showing up on your screen right now. Watch it next to discover if you're truly living from the end, or if you're still trapped in these 5 common mistakes that block your manifestation. The title is, If You're Truly Living from the EN, You Will Never Do These 5 Things. Click it now, and I'll see you there.